If the excitement of a vintage 60s spy thriller gets your pulse going, if you can hear John Barry's iconic theme playing even before Bond steps into the frame, if you remember Ilya Kuryakin and Napoleon Solo outwitting the forces of Thrush with nothing but cool nerves and sharper wits, if you're thrilled at the sight of John Steed and gorgeous Emma Peel dismantling mad scientists and diabolical megalomaniacs with impeccable style, then buckle up. This game is for you. Welcome to Agents of SMERSH, 2nd edition, a globe-spanning espionage adventure where you step into the shoes of an elite UN Secret Service operative. Your objective? Unravel the sinister schemes of the elusive Dr. Lobo, the mastermind of the international criminal syndicate known as SMERSH, a shadow network driven by ambition, ruthlessness, and a hunger for world domination. Your path won't be easy. You'll crisscross the globe confronting SMERSH operatives, trying to survive deadly encounters and gather precious intel tokens, clues that peel back the layers of Lobo's grand design or point you toward the location, the hidden layers of his most dangerous henchmen. Defeat those henchmen and you'll earn the intelligence necessary to close in on the ultimate prize, Dr. Lobo himself. For this playthrough, I'll be adding the alternate endgame rules that are featured in the Showdown booklet, along with some of the Kickstarter henchmen and the travel die, to add even more tension and Cold War flavor to this playthrough of international espionage. So load your Walther PPK, fire up the engines of your Aston Martin DB5, and prepare yourself for international intrigue in the world's most exotic locations as we play Agents of SMERSH, 2nd edition. Hello everyone, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club, and thank you for joining me at my channel. Tonight we're going to revisit Agents of SMERSH, 2nd edition, and we're going to be taking on the role of 2 UN agents who are going to oppose the sinister Dr. Lobo. In addition to his 4 standard henchmen, we're also going to be introducing 2 of the Kickstarter henchmen. First up is the Gambler. When confronting the Gambler, choose any level of 3. Your selection establishes the stakes for your game. Beware, the Gambler will read you like a book. If you lose, advance the villain as normal in addition to the penalties or rewards specified below. If you take on the Gambler at level 3, you risk causing Dr. Lobo's track to advance twice. As a part of the setup, the Gambler's token will be placed on Location Intelligence 3. Once the players advance the location track to 3, we're going to draw a fate card and place the Gambler's token at that location. For purposes of overflow, the Gambler is not a location token and cannot be removed by overflow. Any player may travel to the Gambler's current location and confront him at the level of the player's choice. Each time he is confronted, if he has not been removed from the game, which would happen by a level 3 confrontation, then we would draw another fate card and move him to a new city location. Our other henchman is going to be the Shadow. This man's identity has never been established, but he is designated as the Shadow by the UN. The Shadow's assignments are in line with old SMERSH objectives to assassinate spies. He likes to disguise himself as other SMERSH henchmen, or henchwoman, to lure UN operatives into a controlled setting. Be careful, agents. At the start of the game, we're going to randomly place 4 advanced skills face down on the Shadow's card. When a location token is revealed, we're going to roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, we will have encountered the Shadow instead of the named henchman. We'll reveal the 4 advanced skills, redrawing any duplicates. And we're going to have to test our weakest basic skill with a -2 modifier. We're going to gain +1 for each matching advanced skill that we possess. If we pass, we're going to gain a top secret card and discard this card. If we fail, we're going to lose an advanced skill. Alright, so we've placed 4 random advanced skills on the Shadow's card, and we will use them according to those rules. Now we'll take a look at our agents for the game. We've got Agent U00, Nika Shizuka, codename Snowcat. She has 2 secret missions. One is in Moscow, the other is in Kazan. She's going to begin the game in the Alps, which is relatively close to Moscow and Kazan. She's going to begin the game with the normal 2 UN transports, and her special ability says that she starts with a UN transport as well. She will also begin with the Watch status card. It says the latest of Dr. FX's designs. Before rolling dice in each one of your tests, you may look at the top villain card and either discard it or keep it on top. Once, we can discard to reroll all dice in any test we have just failed. Nika is extremely good in athletics and not so good in deception. And knowing that, for our advanced skills, I think I'm going to choose disguise and speed. Those will be her advanced skills that we're going to choose. Our second agent is Agent Fox 1, Tilly Phillips, codename Luscious. She's highly adaptive. Her secret missions are located in Reykjavik and in Macau. Now, being highly adaptive, she starts out with a skill of 1 in each of the skills, and her special ability is each turn, Tilly may either spend 1 resolve to manipulate dice as normal, or spend 2 resolve to permanently raise a basic skill by 1. She may do this at any time on her turn, and she's going to start in Japan. She'll begin with the standard 2 UN transport tokens, and now we're going to have to select her advanced skills. And I've decided to select the advanced skills Seduction and Stealth. Now, we're fortunate in our setup. Nika Shizuki starts in the Alps, and her 2 secret mission locations are in Moscow and in Kazan, so those are very close by. She also has an intel token in Agadez. Tilly Phillips will begin in Japan. There's a intel token in Beijing, which is very close by, and one of her secret mission locations is in Macau. The other is in Reykjavik, which is quite a distance away. Now for this playthrough, we're going to be using the revised endgame conditions that were a part of the Showdown scenario book. And it reads, using this book without playing a scenario, you may wish to add the new endgame to your regular game of Agents of SMERSH without playing a Showdown scenario. It's simple. When not playing with a scenario, if you win the main game of Agents of SMERSH, follow the endgame rules on pages 6 through 7. All right. That endgame is going to consist of 2 parts: entering the base and then finally defeating Dr. Lobo. Now I've created this display, Dr. Lobo's base, on Microsoft PowerPoint, and we're going to use this to help us resolve the endgame. Now in order for us to get to the endgame, we have to win the base game first, which is by the standard rules. That's collecting our intel in the intel pool and comparing that to the location of Dr. Lobo's pawn on his track. But if we're able to do that, we're going to set up for this final confrontation between us and Dr. Lobo. We'll set up this. First step is to enter the base and then to defeat Dr. Lobo. Now our ultimate goal is to defeat Dr. Lobo. We do that by gaining a sufficient number of location intelligence points. As we're set up for a 2-player game, we're going to need to get 4 intelligence points. Location intelligence points are earned when we encounter one of Dr. Lobo's henchmen, specifically Darling, Pierre, Fedor Maximov, and Mr. Big. In order to encounter one of Dr. Lobo's henchmen, we're going to need to acquire intel tokens. When we gain an intel token, we have 2 choices for the token. We can discard the token and place a green location token on a random city. That's going to feature the lair of one of the henchmen, or we can place the intel token face down in this pool. Now those tokens are also important at the end of the game. We're going to need a specific combination of intelligence tokens at the end of the game, depending upon the level of Dr. Lobo. If Dr. Lobo ever gets to level 9, we're going to lose the game automatically. And as he moves down the track, we're going to need more and more specific intel tokens just to win the game. And that isn't going to be the end of it. We're playing with the advanced rules for the end game. We need to defeat Dr. Lobo in the standard game, and then we will also have to defeat him in his lair. As a part of the setup, for 2 players, we have randomly determined that Fedor Maximov is going to begin the game in level 2. The other 3 primary henchmen will begin at level 1. If we're able to defeat these henchmen, they will move up 1 in their levels. Once they get up to level 3, and if we're able to defeat them, their card is flipped, and we have eliminated them from the game. We can win the game by defeating all 4 of Dr. Lobo's henchmen. It's very difficult to do so, though. Okay, we're going to begin with Nika Shizuka. She is in the Alps. And from the Alps, she's able to move into either Paris or into Rome. That would have to be her first space. So we're going to get a roll with the travel die. We'll see what happens. Now in the standard game, you can move up to 2 movement points, but with the travel die, you can also get up to 3 movement points. But the die also includes some airport closures. Okay, here is the roll. Okay, she has a movement of 2. All right, we'll have to plot her strategy for the first move. Now we're not required to use all of our movement points. So I think what we'll do is we'll stop short of the 2 movement points. I'll have her move into Paris. and there's an airport there, and we'll be able to theoretically take the airport next turn into Moscow, and then that would complete first of her secret missions. Now that she's at Paris, we're going to go into our encounter phase, and we're going to draw an encounter from the appropriate deck. In this case, we are in Europe, so we'll be drawing a European encounter. European encounter is titled The Great Escape 26, and we have to use response group J. I'll bring up response group J on the screen, and we can make our selection of the 6 available. What we're trying to do is use a response that we think is going to play into Nika's strengths. In this case, athletics is one of her stronger attributes. I'm going to select number 1, Into the Lion's Den. Now we have to draw our fate card. And our fate card happens to be Paris. Now this will be with no intel. So our encounter is going to be 26.1, which is our response, Into the Lion's Den, and 0.1 for no intel. That encounter reads, you are sent undercover into a Turkish prison to gather intelligence from a Soviet prisoner. The only way he is going to talk, he tells you, is if you can free him. It won't be easy. The prison guards will shoot without hesitation for the slightest reason, and the conditions are horrendous. If you stay there much longer, you will probably be dead from disease or murdered by another inmate. While you weren't expecting civilization when you entered this deal, you weren't expecting conditions to be this harsh. The Soviet tells you he would rather be eating dead rats in a gulag. All right, we have to test deception +2 with 2 successes, or we can pass automatically with stealth or disguise. Well, fortunately, Nika has disguise, so she will automatically pass the encounter. And that pass condition states, it takes you a month to devise a workable plan, and the 2 of you barely get out alive. 1 intel. All right, so we're going to gain an intel. We'll place that in the intel pool. Now we proceed to the villain phase, and we draw a villain card reading the end of turn event. And it says, UN buildings in Paris attacked by long-range missiles. Remove intel in Europe and add new intel in New Orleans. All right, we have no intel in Europe, so we're going to draw and place an intel token in New Orleans. All right, and here's the token. Now Nika did have some equipment, the watch. Before rolling dice in each one of your tests, you may look at the top villain card and either discard it or keep it on the top. And then once she can discard and re-roll all the dice in any test that she has failed. Now in this case we didn't need to because we had the automatic pass with our disguise. But we have to remember to use this card, it's very valuable. What this is going to do is allow us to possibly bypass some of those 2-value villain cards that will move and accelerate Dr. Lobo's plans more effectively. Now we'll move on to Tilly Phillips. She's in Japan. One of her secret mission locations is in Macau, so I think we are going to go there first. We'll make a roll using the movement die. And she rolls 2. And that symbol at the bottom would indicate that she'd have to close an airport in her location prior to moving. The case of Japan does not have an airport. So she is going to move into Macau. All right, so Tilly Phillips is in Macau, and she's going to undertake an Asia encounter. But before we do that, we have to inspect her secret mission, which is in Macau. We'll take a look at that. And her secret mission reads, upon arrival in Macau, instead of having a normal encounter, you gamble with a dangerous ex-KGB agent. Make a gamble action. If we win, it'll say, well, agent, I see you do not fear death. Up any skill by 2. However, if we lose, or if we do not complete the mission, by the end of the game, we're going to remove 2 intel from the pool. Okay, so we have to do a gamble action. Now, gamble actions are one of the more fun aspects of the game. The Fate deck contains a truncated deck of playing cards. There's no 2s or 3s, so it's easier to get a good hand. To gamble, the players simply deal themselves 5 cards to form a poker hand. We can discard 1 card and redraw. If we have the gambling or luck advanced skill, we can discard and redraw up to 2 cards. If we spend a resolve, we can discard and redraw up to 5. If discarding and redrawing more than 1 card, all discards and redraws must be simultaneous, not 1 card at a time. And that will establish our hand. Then the house, playing in this case as the ex-KGB agent, will draw 5 cards, displaying them face up. And if we have a better hand, we will win. All right, we'll take a look at our 5-card hand. And we've got a king, a 10, a 6, an 8, and a queen of spades. We've got 4 spades. All right. Well, I think we're going to try for the flush. So I'm going to discard the king, and we will use our opportunity to draw 1 extra card. All right. And let's take a look at what we drew. It's a queen of diamonds. So our hand now is a pair of queens, which isn't too bad. We'll see what the ex-KGB agent comes up with. And we'll reveal his hand. He's got an ace of hearts, an 8 of diamonds, a 9 of hearts, a 4 of spades, and a king of hearts. So we've won. Got a pair of queens to his ace high. So we've passed our secret mission in Macau, and that will allow us to up any skill by 2. That is awesome. Now, we can't get any replacement secret missions. We only have 2 for the entire game. So this one will be discarded, but we can up any of our skills by 2. And I think she's going to up her spycraft by 2. So she has a spycraft now of 3. We'll move on to the villain phase, and our end of turn event is Pacific Island discovered with hypnotized workers. Remove intel from South America and add intel in the Pacific Ocean. It also says airport close Casablanca. Okay. So we'll have to place an airport closure marker in Casablanca. We have no intel tokens in South America, so we place a new intel in the Pacific Ocean. And we'll place the intel token in the Pacific Ocean. Now we have to check for intel overload. In a 1 to 3 player game, we can have no more than 5 intel tokens on the board at one time. If a 6th comes on, all of the intel tokens and all of the green location tokens, if any, on the board are removed, except 1 location token can be left on the board. So we don't want those intel overloads to occur. So checking the board, our intel overload number currently is 4. There's 4 of them on the board. As Tilly will likely be going to Beijing to investigate that intel token there, I'm not going to worry too much about Nika. So I think we're going to have her attempt to move towards Moscow and Kazan for her secret missions. She's up next. She's currently in Paris, and we'll have her roll the travel die. The result is a 1, and the airport is going to close in Paris. So that's not what we wanted. So we'll place a closed airport token in Paris, and now she has 1 movement point. Our choices would be London, Berlin, Madrid, or Rome. And I think our best bet is probably Berlin is definitely closer to Moscow, but there's no airport there. I guess we'll move to Berlin, and she will take an encounter in Berlin. That's going to be a European encounter. All right, her European encounter is tailed, and we have to use response group A. Take a look at response group A and see what we want to attempt. All right, Nika has both speed and disguise. So I think she is going to, we'll use response. Be reckless. So it's 01.3. We'll draw our fate card. And the fate card is without intel, and that's 1. So we have 01.3.1. That encounter reads, a teenager in broad-brimmed fedora is following you down a busy street. You stop at a cafe for a drink. When the kid passes, you speak to him, but he ignores you. Angered, you grab him and shove him hard against the wall. I don't know what your story is, kid, but you should think twice before you ever look at me again. Got it? And then you knee him in the stomach. He huddles to the ground, crying. And we have to test deception +1. All right. Well, Nika Shizuka has a deception level of 0. So that is going to entitle us just to the single yellow die, which has a 1 in 6 probability. Each of these dice have different probabilities. I'll bring up a table on the screen so you can take a look at the different probabilities of those dice. Now I think before we do anything else, we are going to employ our watch. It says before rolling dice in each one of your tests, you may look at the top villain card and either discard it or keep it on the top. All right, so let's take a look at the top villain card. The top villain card is a value of 1. So I think we will probably keep that on top. So as it stands now, the test gives us deception +1. We have a deception strength of 0, so we would have 1 currently. That would entitle us to not only roll the yellow die, but we'd be able to draw 1 die from the bag. I'm going to bring up a table on the screen, and you can see the different probabilities for the different colors of dice. Now, in addition, we can spend resolve points. We currently have 5 of them. The resolve is a lot easier to spend than it is to acquire, so we have to be careful with these points. But what it does allow us to do is one of two things. We can either re-roll a single die, or we can add 1 to a single test. Or we can exchange any number of cards when gambling. Those are the choices. In addition, that resolve can also be spent to move 1 additional point, 1 additional space on the board during movement. So we're going to make our draw from the bag first and see what kind of die we get. And that would dictate if we need to get additional dice or if we could get by with a possible reroll. We have this red bag, and the dice are in this bag, so we're going to draw from that. We don't know what style of die it is till we draw it. In this case, we have the black die, and the black die is one of the best. As you can see from the chart, we have a 66.7% chance of success with the black die, but it does have a 17% chance of us getting an injury. So We're going to roll these dice. I'm not going to use any resolve at this point. And we'll see if we can pass this test. We're looking for a gun. That's what we want, a gun symbol. And we've done it. We have the gun symbol and Dr. Lobo's Illuminati symbol. We don't care about that. We care about the gun, and that is the pass condition. So we'll read the pass condition. And that says, you realize what you've done and help him to a bench. Several pedestrians are staring. Your work is getting to you. You take the rest of the day off to relax and gain your senses. Up, spycraft. So it looks like Nika has assaulted an innocent teenager. And she's apologized, and she's going to end up gaining 1 to her spycraft. So we'll move her spycraft up to 2, which is great. Now we'll take care of our villain phase and our end of turn event. It says piracy increases as SMERSH outfits ships with advanced radar technology. Remove intel in Europe and add intel in the South Atlantic. Airport. Close any city in Europe. Okay. So I guess we will close the airport in Rome. There are no intel tokens in Europe, so we'll just be placing new intel in the South Atlantic. So we'll place new intel in South Atlantic, and now we'll check for intel overload. We have a total of 5 intel on the board. If any more intel comes on, we will be in an overload condition. That'll complete the turn for Nika, and we'll move to Tilly Phillips. She's in Macau. All right, here is Tilly's travel die roll. Oops, it's stuck. There we go. All right, she has 2 movement points. And if she uses an airplane for air travel, she would get 1 additional movement point on the other end of that leg of the air travel. We're not going to need that, though. Macau does have an airport there. We're simply going to move 1 movement point into Beijing, and we're going to encounter that intel token. All right, we've drawn Call to Action, and this is not necessarily a good card for us. We're going to roll a d6, and then depending upon the result, more than likely we're going to have to conduct battle with one of the 4 henchmen. Now the problem with this is this encounter with the henchmen does not increase location intelligence. So we're just taking the risk of dealing with one of the henchmen. If we're successful, the henchman will move up in level, but it's not good for us. Now we have an option at the bottom of the card. It says, or before rolling a d6, you may elect to take 1 injury to escape and immediately draw a new encounter card. Currently, Tilly has a endurance level of 3, so that means that she can take 2 injuries. Her 3rd one would knock her out, and that would advance Dr. Lobo on the chart. So either way, this is not good. And I think what she'll do is she's going to take an injury, and then we will draw a new encounter card. So Tilly is going to take an injury token, and her endurance is 3. So she could hold up to 2. The 3rd one would knock her out. The injury status does not affect pass or failure in the encounter, but what it would do is, as soon as she would, in this case, receive her 3rd injury, we would remove all of the injury tokens, but then we would immediately draw and resolve a villain advancement card. So, not good. So, we've elected to draw a new encounter card, and this one is entitled Breakout. Our response group will be A. And I think her response is going to be spontaneous. So right now we've got 11.7. Now this encounter is with intel, so it's going to be 11.7.3. Now we have to decide what to do with that intel token, and I think we're going to place that into the pool. So we're going to place that intel token into the pool. It remains face down. All right, we'll resolve our encounter. And that encounter reads, "You have been in the cell for some days now, subsisting on bread and water. The door opens and Darling walks in, wearing a ball gown. I hope you realize I'm missing the annual SMERSH henchperson's dance to deal with you," she says. You're in no state to fight her, but you somehow get your feet. "Allow me," you say, and take her in a waltz hold. Test athletics -2, or persuasion requiring 2 successes, or pass with seduction. Well, Tilly has the ability seduction, so we pass. And the result of that pass is she is so surprised that you manage to dance all the way down the hall before you slam her into a wall and run for your life. We're going to get the condition Cool Agent. So Tilly gains the condition Cool Agent. Cool is not a good enough word to describe you. When you fail a persuasion or athletics test, you may re-roll a single die once, and then we can discard to re-roll a single die in any test that we fail. So that's great. Now we'll take care of our end of turn event. It says worldwide food production diminishes due to sterilization agent found in water supply. We're going to add intel into Cairo, and we're going to close the airport in Macau. So the airport in Macau is closed. And now we have to add intel into Cairo. So we'll check for intel overload, and we have a total of 5 intel tokens on the board, so we're at max right now. We'll move on now back to Nika Shizuka. She's currently in Berlin. We'll have her make a roll with the travel die. And she rolls 1 only. All right, she does have 3 UN transport tokens. That allows us to move to any location on the board if we chose to do that. And I think we might end up using that because we're going to be into, more than likely, an intel overload. And I think she's going to spend one of her UN transports, and we're going to move her to Cairo. So Mika arrives in Cairo, and we're going to have to decide what we want to do with that intel token. And I think it might be time for us to draw a location token and get that out on the board. Or we can place that in the intel pool. Well, I think we'll place it in the intel pool for now. So this is going to be an encounter with intel, and we'll be drawing an Africa encounter card. She draws the encounter testing your limits, and the response group will be I. Now we're going to take advantage of her watch. It says before rolling dice in each one of your tests, you may look at the top villain card and either discard it or keep it on top. Well, we'll wait to see until what happens with this. We have to first select our response group, so we need a selection from group I. And I think she's going to select number 4, go for broke. So right now we've got 12.4. And since we're using intel, it'll be 0.3. So it's 12.4.3. And the encounter reads, move to Congo. All right. So she has to move to the Congo. We'll move her there, the Congo Basin. That says, we know there is something going on near Mount Specky in the Congo Basin, but aerial reconnaissance can't see any activity in the mountain valley. We'll drop you in there to take a closer look, but be careful, Agent. SMERSH employs Congo rebels to guard them, and they are heavily armed. We have to test athletics -1 or spycraft +1 with 2 successes, and we would pass automatically with adventuring or stealth. Well, we have neither of those, so our choices would be athletics -1 or spycraft +1 with 2 successes. I think we're going to go with the athletics. Our athletics is 2, so that'll, with the modifier, move us down to 1. She's going to utilize her watch, and we'll take a look at the top villain card. Villain advancement will be a 1, and if we were to discard it, it would not be this end of turn result, which would be add intel in Stockholm and close Reykjavik. So I think we'll keep the card on top. We'll do that. And now we're going to resolve our athletics test. We're going to be gaining the gray die, and we'll be entitled to 1 draw from the bag. And here's our draw from the bag. And we get a black die, which is great. All right, we're going to roll those and see what happens. We need to get 1 success. And we've got it. She's got the black pistol and a Illuminati symbol, so we've passed. We'll read the pass condition. And it says, you endure a sprained ankle, a loss of your rations, and an attack by a leopard. But this is all in a day's work. You find SMERSH is building an elaborate satellite facility, but it is far from complete. The UN should have plenty of time to respond, and we're going to gain the status Explorer. And she gains the status Explorer. Whether it's in the mountains or in the wilds of Africa, you feel at home in exotic lands. Gain +2 to tests made in regional locations, regions connected by blue arrows, such as the Alps, Congo Basin, Patagonia, etc. Discard to re-roll a single die in any test that you fail. All right, we'll give that to Nika. Now we'll take care of our end of turn event, and it says, Crown Jewels stolen. Violence erupts in Trafalgar Square. Add intel to Stockholm and close Reykjavik. Okay. So we're going to be adding intel into Stockholm, and we're going to close the airport in Reykjavik, Iceland. All right, now we'll check for intel overflow. Okay, we've got a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 intel tokens on the board, so we are still good. So far we're doing pretty good. We've got 3 intel tokens in the pool. We don't know what they are. We have 3 of them nonetheless. I think we need to get some location tokens on the board and start investigating the layers of these henchmen. All right, Agent Fox is up next, and she's currently in Beijing. There's an airport there. We'll have her roll the movement die. We have 5 intel tokens on the board, so we need to deal with this. She rolls a 1, unfortunately, and that's going to close the airport in Beijing. So we'll place a closed airport marker there, and I think she's going to need to use her UN transport. We need to get to a location with intel. So I think I'm going to have her use her UN transport token, and that will transfer her, in this case, to New Orleans. I selected New Orleans because it has an intel token, and I'm trying to get to Reykjavik, which is one of her secret mission locations. Okay, we have to decide what to do with the intel token, and I'm going to trade that intel token in for a location token. So we're going to draw a location token from the bag and then draw a card to find out where it goes. We place this face down. We don't know whose layer this is going to be. So we've got a location token, and we'll draw a card and find out where it goes. And this time it is going to New Orleans. That is absolutely amazing. That's where it goes. Okay, so we place it in New Orleans, and now we can decide what to do. Well, Tilly is going to take the location encounter. We'll find out who we are up against. This is the lair of Pierre. All right. All right, we have to determine now if we're going to be meeting Pierre or the Shadow. It says when a location token is revealed, we're going to roll a d6. On a 1 or 2, we're going to have an encounter with the Shadow instead of the Henchman. And here's the roll. Okay, it's a 3, so we're going to have an encounter against Pierre. All right, Pierre is at level 1. It says test spycraft to avoid Pierre's trap. Okay. Well, fortunately for us, Agent Tilly has a spycraft of 3. So we're going to gain our gray die, and then we can draw up to 3 additional dice. Okay, we'll start by drawing 1 die, and we can stop anytime we want. If we think we have enough dice probability to complete the mission, then we can stop. And we've drawn the black. That is pretty good. That's the best die. I'm really getting lucky picking that die. I think we will stop with that. That gives us a 67% chance of success. So let's try it. Okay, here's the roll. And we've got an injury, but a success. 2 injuries, as a matter of fact. Well, I think we are going to use a resolve. And we'll move her down from 6 to 5. And we're going to re-roll that injury die. And it is a Dr. Lobo Illuminati symbol, but we've passed the test, and it says if we pass, we get 1 intel. Since we've passed, Pierre will move up to level 2 now. And we increase our location intelligence. So our location intelligence moves up to 1. We've got to get up to 4 for a 2-player game. So for defeating Pierre, we get another intel token. We've got 4 of them. Now that location token with Pierre is going to go back into the bag. Now we have to draw a villain card during the villain phase. And this one is end of turn event. China arrests thousands of citizens accused of involvement in acts of terrorism. Remove intel in Asia and add intel into Dakar. Close the airport in Los Angeles. All right. Okay, there is no intel currently in Asia, so we're going to be adding an intel into Dakar. All right. And then we're going to close the airport in Los Angeles. So we'll place a closed airport in Los Angeles. All right. Now we'll check our intel for intel overload. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're still okay for the moment. And we'll move on to Nika Shizuki's turn. We'll have her roll the movement die. She's currently in the Congo Basin. Okay, she has a move of 2, and that is going to be good for us. I think she is going to travel to Agadez. 1 and 2. And I think what we'll do is turn that intel token into a location token. So the intel token will go back into the bag, and we will draw a location token and find out where it goes. Okay, this is the lair of one of his henchmen. We'll find out where that goes. Here is a fate card, and that is going to Chicago. Okay, so that's where we're going to place it, in Chicago. That's pretty close to Tilly Phillips's location. So we'll place that in Chicago. All right. Now we have to do an encounter in Agadez with intel. So we'll be taking an Africa encounter. And this time we've got spoiling for a fight. Response group is I. Okay, let's see what response we want to make. Response group I. And I think Nika is going to take response group I, number 1, no compromise. And we'll draw a fate card. And we've got, with intel is 5. So 18.1.5, that will be our solution. Okay, that encounter reads, you chase a SMERSH agent up a tall building still under construction. Standing on a metal beam, hundreds of feet in the air, the two of you fight with whatever you can find. One false slip, and you will fall to your death. She throws a large metal wrench at your head, and you duck. Then you swing a metal pipe at her legs. She jumps. Test hand-to-hand -1, or pass with luck or weapon use. Well, unfortunately, Nika has neither of those. We have to test hand-to-hand combat -1. Her hand-to-hand is currently 1. So as it stands now, we've only got the gray die, and that's a 1 in 6 chance of success. Our options would be, we can spend a resolve to add 1 to a single test, and that might help. I think we're going to need to do that. So otherwise we can use it as a reroll, but it's still a 1 in 6 chance. So she's going to spend 1 of her resolve. That puts her down to 4, and then that will give us +1 to the test, giving us hand-to-hand skill of 1. So we'll draw a die and see what we get. And believe it or not, I got the black again. That is absolutely amazing. So we will roll the dice. Now, since we've used our resolve to get an extra die, we cannot use another one to get +1. So we'd have to use a card or something else. Now, we do have the watch ability. It says before rolling dice, in each one of your tests, you can look at the top villain card and decide to keep it on the top or bottom. This is the villain card that we would have to deal with. It's a 2. The end of turn event would be to add intel to Madrid and Moscow, and an airport would close the current city. So I think we're going to exchange this. We'll put this at the bottom. I think that would be the best for us. Okay, we'll make the roll and see what happens. And we've passed it. We've got a gun. Let's read the pass condition now. And that says, you follow her along the beam and jump onto a thin plywood board. She picks up a crowbar and you block the attack with your arm. Pain shoots into your shoulder, but the block has opened her up to a swing with your other arm, and you hit her across the head. She falls to her death. Up any skill, we gain the tough condition, and we gain an injury, unfortunately. Okay, so we're going to gain the tough condition, which is excellent. It gives us, it says now it takes +2 injuries to put you down. That large gaping wound doesn't hurt at all. Okay, so that gives us now an injury level of 6. That's great. But we are going to take an injury. So we'll mark her with an injury. And we can up any skill that we choose. I guess we will up our deception. That's at 0 currently, so we'll move that up to 1. That was a good opportunity for us. Now we have to draw our villain card for the end of turn. It says, 3 passenger planes disappear over the Atlantic. Add intel in Athens and close the airport in the current city. Okay, Agadez does not have an airport, but we're going to be adding intel into Athens. So we place intel in Athens. Our current intel level is at 5, so we're still good. All right, Tilly is currently in New Orleans, and I think she is going to roll the movement die and see if she can get to Chicago and check out that location. The result is a 2. It'll close an airport in her current location. New Orleans doesn't have one. So I think that is probably our best bet. We'll have her move to Chicago, and we'll take a look at that location token, and that is Darling. Okay. And now we have to make our roll to see if we will be encountering the shadow in place of Darling. Here is the roll. Result is a 3 again, so it will be an encounter against Darling. That's great. So we'll be encountering level 1 of Darling. It says test deception to trick Darling into letting her guard down. Okay. Tilly has a deception of 1. So we'll be gaining our gray die, and I will get 1 draw from the bag. And we've drawn the blue die. The blue die gives us a 33% chance of success with no chance of injury. So that's what we've got to work with. Now we have not used our resolve, so we can save that for a possible reroll, or we could add an extra die if we choose. I think we'll save it for a reroll. I'm not sure if that's the best option or not, but we'll try it. And here's our roll. And we've got a success and a healing, which is awesome. All right, our success says pass up any skill. That'll move Darling now up to level 2, but we can up a skill. And I think she is going to up her hand-to-hand. We'll move that up to 2. And that success against Darling is going to move our location intelligence up to 2. We get 2 more of those, and we can start going after Dr. Lobo himself. And we'll check the end of turn event. It says Soviets send thousands of tourists into forced labor camps, remove intel in the USSR, and add intel into the Indian Ocean. Airport close any city in North America. All right. So we'll be placing intel into the Indian Ocean. There are no intel in the Soviet Union. So now we got to check our intel, and I think we're going to have an intel overload. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yes. The token from the location token from Darling will go back into the bag. And now we have to remove all intel on the board. That is the penalty for an intel overload. So we're going to remove all intel tokens from the board, unfortunately. We did a good job on that to this point, but it happened. And we have to close an airport in North America, and I think we will close the airport in Ottawa. All right. Okay, we'll switch to Nika Shizuka. She is in Agadez, and I think she is going to use a UN transport. Now, we have to roll our movement die no matter what, but I think she's going to use the UN transport to get her to Kazan, and that's one of her locations for secret mission. Oops, it's stuck. There we go. It's a 1, so she will be definitely using a UN transport. That'll take her to Kazan, Soviet Union. And if we read her secret mission in Kazan, it says a UN agent is missing in Kazan. You need to rescue her before the end of the game. After completing an encounter initiated in Kazan, pass or fail. Either take a top secret card or gain 1 resolve. If the game ends before you complete this mission, you must remove 2 intel of your choice from the pool before flipping up intel to see if you defeat Dr. Lobo. Okay. So we're going to undertake a mission in Kazan. Now, the Soviet Union is considered to be an Asia location. And here's our Asia encounter. And we've got stolen property, response group H. All right. Okay, checking out response group H with stolen property. And I think we'll try cheat number 4. So we've got 30.4 so far. Here's our fake card. This is without intel, so 0.2. 30.4.2. All right, and this reads, to pass the time while you wait for your target to leave his hotel, you're watching a group of teenagers kick a ball around. When the ball rolls to you, you trap it and kick it back to them. Come and join us, calls a girl wearing a Brazil shirt. You check your watch. You figure you've got another half hour before you'll be able to search his room for the stolen documents. So why not? You were just getting into the game when a boy you tackle goes down in a heap. The atmosphere turns nasty and the teenagers circle you, accusing you of cheating. 2 of them pull knives and 1 blade slashes across your stomach. I barely touched him, you protest. But you're beginning to suspect that this is no accident. Test athletics or pass with speed. Well, Nika has the advanced ability speed, so we've passed it. Let's read the pass condition. And that says, You've no desire to hurt these kids, and it's time you got back to the hotel. You make a run for it, breaking through the circle and dodging the knife thrusts. They are gaining on you, but you jump into a cab and speed away. 1 intel, but 1 injury. Okay, so we're going to gain another intel. We can add that into the pool. And we'll place that in our intel pool, and that's our 5th intel token. But we're going to take another injury, so we are at right now 2 of 6. Incidentally, we can take a rest action when we have 2 or more injuries. We can take a rest action, but that gives, by doing so, that gives an advantage to Dr. Lobo. Now, since we've taken an encounter in Kazan, it says after completing an encounter in Kazan, pass or fail, either take a top secret card or gain 1 resolve. I think she's going to gain the resolve, and we'll have her move her resolve back from 4 back up to 5. And now we have to do our end of turn event, and that says airport security at all-time high. Remove intel in North America and add intel into Mumbai. Airport close in Lagos. All right. Well, we have no intel on the board, so we'll be adding 1 into Mumbai. So we'll add intel into Mumbai, and then we have to close the airport in Lagos. So the airport in Lagos is closed. And that'll complete Nika Shizuka's turn. Okay, we'll move on to Agent Tilly Phillips. And we'll have her make her roll for movement. I think we're going to try to get her to Reykjavik, because the only intel on the board is in Mumbai, and it's pretty far away. Okay, she rolls only a 1 movement, and it would close the airport in her current location, which is Chicago. Okay, so we'll place a closed airport in Chicago, and now she can move 1. I guess we'll move her to New York. Incidentally, these airports with the red airplanes can never be closed, no matter what. Okay, so she's in New York, and she's going to have to take a North America encounter. And incidentally, these encounter cards should be shuffled every time. We don't keep a stack of them. We have to keep them, we reshuffle them every time. So we're going to be drawing a North American encounter. And we've got Deep Cover, Response Group F. All right, checking out Response Group F with Deep Cover. I think we're going to choose Sneak Attack. So we've got 31.2 right now. We'll draw our Fate card. And this is without intel, so it'll be 0.1. So we've got 31.2.1. All right, the encounter reads, you have been undercover inside a drug cartel for months, but have made very little headway. You're starting to suspect that the cartel does not have any links with SMERSH. That night, however, a bag is jammed over your head from behind you, and you are injected with a sedative. You wake up in what seems to be a field. As you come to, you realize that it is actually an arena. Suddenly, it is lit with blinding light, and a crowd cheers. You hear rumbling sound behind you and turn to see dozens of bulls charging towards you. The crowd goes wild. Test athletics +2 or pass with adventuring. All right. Well, Tilly Phillips does not have either of those, does not have adventuring. So we're going to have to test athletics +2. Her athletics is at 1. So that's going to allow us to draw up to 3 dice. Our test results now are at +3 total. Here's our first die. And this one is a red one. Okay. The red gives us a 50% chance of success with no injury. So I think we will go with that. And if necessary, we'll use one of our resolve for a reroll. So I think that's pretty good. Let's try that. And we have 2 fails. So I think Tilly is going to spend one of her resolve, moving her from 5 down to 4. And then we're going to re-roll the red die and hope for success. Here's the roll. And we've done it. We've got the gun, and that is a success. Let's see what our pass says. You run like you've never run before, the rumbling getting faster and faster. In front of you is a stone wall at least 12 feet high. You jump. Your hands barely grasp onto the edge, and you pull yourself up just as a bull attempts to gore your leg. Up. Any skill. All right. Well, since we have the cool agent ability, that actually would have given us a reroll of a single die once. That's interesting. I should have used that. Well, I didn't. So I guess we're going to try to up one of the skills that is not persuasion or athletics. And I think I will go with deception. We'll move that up to skill level 2. And we'll take care of our end of turn event. And that says Japan begins process of rebuilding military despite U.S. objections. Remove intel in Europe and add intel in Yekaterinburg, USSR. Airport closed, current city. Okay. Well, we can't close the current airport because New York is unclosable, so that's good for us. There are no intel tokens in Europe, so we'll be placing intel in Yekaterinburg. And that just so happens to be very close to Nika. All right. All right, Nika is up next, and we'll have her roll the travel die. She's got 3 movement points. Okay. Well, we'll definitely have her travel to Yekaterinburg and check out that intel. And I think we're going to convert that intel into a location token. So that token will go back into the bag, and we'll draw a location token and see where it goes. And the location token is going to go into Novosibirsk. That's pretty close. Okay. And that means it's going to go right next door. That is great. And so we'll have to have an Asia encounter in Yekaterinburg. And we'll see what Nika has. Okay, here is her encounter card. And she gets Breaking and Entering, Response Group C. Okay, that is Response Group C, and I think she is going to take Quick Action, so that'll be 2. 2.2 so far. And here is the Fate card. And we've got it without Intel. Actually, it is with Intel, because there was an Intel token. Was that right? I'm going to have to check that. Yes, there was, so it is with Intel. So we've got 2.2.3. That encounter reads, you are stopped at a roadblock where an officer dressed in an olive green uniform demands that you open the trunk of your car. The trunk holds high-tech weapons that will cause trouble if discovered. You refuse, but the officer is obviously intending to wrench open your trunk without permission. Test Persuasion -1 or Deception +1, requiring 2 successes, or pass with Seduction. Well, unfortunately, Nika does not have Seduction, so it's going to be either Persuasion -1 or Deception +1. And I think, 2 successes is pretty tough. I think we'll go with the Persuasion -1. Her Persuasion is 1 currently. So as it stands now, we would just have the gray die. Now she does have the Watch, and that says before rolling, we can check the top villain card. So let's do that first. And this is our villain card. It's worth 2 if we were to fail. Intel would be removed from Asia, and we would be adding intel in Rio and Panama City, and closing the airport in the current location. So So that would be the card that we would have if we choose to keep that on top. I think we're going to put that at the bottom of the deck, and we'll have a different card come up. Now we have to decide what we're going to do with this test, and I think she is going to spend a resolve token to raise the skill by 1. So technically right now her persuasion is at 2. Minus 1 gives us 1. So we'll be drawing 1 die from the bag. And here's our draw. And we've got the green die. Okay, the green. Well, the green die is a 50% probability of success and a 1/3 chance of injury. So not much choice in the matter. We'll roll these and see how we do. We've got the success. That is awesome. All right, so we will read our success, the pass condition. It says, after some skillful misdirection on your part, another card distracts him and you make off in time to get to your destination. Up any skill. Great. Okay, so we can up any skill, and I think we are going to increase our deception. We'll move that up to 2. Okay. And now here's our end of turn event. And that says, sterilization drug found in China's water supply. Remove intel in Asia and add intel into Lagos. Close Mumbai's airport. Okay. Okay, so we have to remove intel from Asia. That's going to take the intel from Mumbai. And then we're going to add intel into Lagos. So we'll place the intel into Lagos. And then we have to close the airport in Mumbai. And we will do so. We'll place a closed airport in Mumbai. Okay. All right, Agent Tilly Phillips is up next. And we'll have her roll. She's currently in New York. She rolls a movement of 2. Okay, so let's see what her possibilities are here. I want to get her to Reykjavik. That would be a good thing for us to do. So I think we'll have her move 1 into Ottawa and 2 into the North Atlantic. And we'll be taking an ocean encounter there. Okay, ocean encounters are a little different. We have to roll a d6, and that's going to tell us the title of the encounter. The roll is a 4. Okay, so that is going to be Espionage on the High Seas, number 49, and we have to use response group F. So espionage, let's see. I think she's going to try reason with. It's going to be 3. So our group is 49.3. And our fate card for ocean is 4. So we've got 49.3.4. Okay, and the encounter reads, you can't throw me overboard, you say. When the boat reaches the island, you'll need to import things. You are traveling under your Universal Imports cover story. To pass the time, you and the other passengers are playing the who should be thrown overboard to save everyone else's game. Being an importer doesn't give you much leverage against the doctor, the Army Ranger, and the builder. If you can just work out which of them is the saboteur, it will be obvious who should be thrown overboard. Test Spycraft -2 or pass with detection. Well, we're going to have to use Spycraft -2. Her Spycraft, luckily, is 3. So that gives us a 1 in Spycraft. So we've got our 1 gray die, and we'll be entitled to 1 draw. And we'll see what we get. And this is the green die. Okay, that's a 50-50 on that one. We'll have to decide if we want to use our Spycraft or not. I think with a 50-50 die, I'm going to save the resolve rather for a reroll. So we'll roll these 2 and see how we do. And we've got 2 injuries, unfortunately. Not good. Well, I'm going to use a resolve, and we're going to re-roll our green die and see what happens. Okay, here is the roll. And she's got the success, thank goodness. We're still going to take an injury, but she's passed it. So reading the pass condition, that says, 3 days into the voyage, you have completed your observations and decide that the doctor is actually working for SMERSH. You stop short of throwing her overboard, settling instead to confine her to her cabin and turning her in when you finally reach port. All right, so that's great. I guess we don't get anything for doing that. Nope, we don't. Okay. Unfortunately, we're going to be taking our second injury, so I want to be thinking about taking a rest. And our end of turn is SMERSH activates earthquake machine in Beijing, causing massive damage. Add intel in Regina. Airport close in Beijing. Well, Beijing is already closed, so we'll be adding intel in Regina. That's in Canada. So we'll add an intel token into Regina, and now we'll see how much intel we got on the board. We've got one in Lagos, one in Regina, and I believe that's it. So we're nowhere near our intel overload, and that will end the turn for Tilly. We'll move on to Nika Shizuki. All right, Nika is at Yekaterinburg, and that's on the Trans-Siberian Railroad, so we can move anywhere along there at no cost. So we'll have her make a roll for movement with the movement die. She rolls a 1, and that has an airport closure in her location. And Yekaterinburg does not have an airport. So she can move 1 space, and you can move as far as you want along that Trans-Siberian Railroad. Our choices would be the location token, or she can go to Moscow, which is where her other secret mission is. And I think we're going to use the 1 movement point, and we're going to move to Novosibirsk. And we'll see about this location token. Let's see who we're going to be up against, first of all. And then we have to decide if there's going to be a shadow encounter. It's going to be Mr. Big. Okay, Mr. Big. Okay, we're going to have to make a die roll and see if it's going to be the shadow instead of Mr. Big. On a 1 or 2, it'll be the shadow. The result is a 6, so we're going to have an encounter against Mr. Big. All right, for Mr. Big, level 1, test hand-to-hand to avoid getting put down by Mr. Big. Well, Nika's hand-to-hand is 1. All right. She has a skill of 1 in hand-to-hand, so we'll get 1 die draw. And she's got the black die. I think that is good. So we'll roll that and see if we can pass this. That would be awesome. And we have no success. Well, I think she's going to have to spend a resolve. That'll move her down to 3, and we're going to re-roll that black die. And she's passed it. She's got the gun. That is awesome. And it says pass. We can up any skill. All right, I forgot to use my watch. That would have given us an advantage in the villain card, but we're going to up, I think, persuasion. We'll move that up to 2. So she's getting quite powerful. And that success moves our location tracker up to 3. 1 more and we'll be able to encounter Dr. Lobo at his base. Now this is going to place the gambler out on the board. When that happens, when we move up to 3 on the location intelligence, we're going to draw a random location and place the gambler there. In this case, he is going to Dakar. Okay. So we're going to place the gambler in Dakar. All right. Mr. Big moves up to level 2 now, and his token is returned to the bag. And now we have to draw our end of turn card. And this one is captured SMERSH agent discovered to possess robotic implants. Remove intel in Africa and add intel into La Paz and Krasnoyarsk. Okay, airport closed will be Nairobi. All right, so we have to get rid of intel in Africa, so the Lagos is gone. And we're going to be adding intel into La Paz and Krasnoyarsk. La Paz will gain an intel, as will Krasnoyarsk. Okay. And we'll place the intel in Krasnoyarsk, and that's very close to Nika. And finally, the airport in Nairobi will close. Okay, we're doing pretty good. I'm getting very lucky on these dice rolls, I can tell you that, folks. It's not normally this easy. I'm assuming that we'll have some type of correction soon. Okay, next up is Agent Tilly Phillips, and we'll have her roll for movement. And she rolls a 3. Okay, so we're going to move her to Reykjavik, and that's where her secret mission is located. And her secret mission reads, "You've been on the trail of a SMERSH operative across several cities. Your determination to stay on him, despite the director's admonition, pays off. Gain a resolve and up any skill." Okay, that is great. So we're going to gain her a resolve up to 4, and then she can up any skill. I guess she'll take athletics. We'll move her up to there. All right, now we'll take our encounter in Reykjavik, and that's a European location. So we'll shuffle the European deck and draw one. And she gets The Great Escape. Response group is J. And checking response group J for The Great Escape. I think she's going to take number 1, Into the Lion's Den. So we've got 26.1, and this is without intel. So it'll be 26.1.2. All right. Okay, 26.1.2. And that reads, move to Moscow. Okay, so our character will move to Moscow. And it says, in Berlin, a snitch blows your cover, and you are taken into custody by the Soviets. Days later, you are transported to a gulag. Perhaps the only thing worse than being inside a gulag is escaping one and finding yourself in a frozen wasteland. You have an escape plan, but little sense of your whereabouts. You spend weeks trying to cozy up to several of the overworked and underpaid guards. Test persuasion or deception +2, needing 2 successes, or pass with seduction. Well, lo and behold, Tilly has seduction. So we'll read the pass condition. All right. And this says, one guard becomes friendly with you, and you learn that you are 10 minutes from a satellite control station. You make your escape, break into the station, and are able to get a message to the UN for a pickup. Explorer. All right. And so Tilly will gain the Explorer status card. Gain +2 to tests that are made in regional locations, regions connected by blue arrows, such as the Alps, Congo Basin, Patagonia, etc. Okay. And Tilly is now in Moscow, so we'll read the end of turn event. And that says, AP Press front page article reads, are these the end times? Remove intel from North America and add intel into Macau. Airport closed, current city. Well, Moscow is a special airport, cannot be closed. So we will be taking intel from North America. The intel in Regina is gone, and we'll add that to Macau. All right. So that'll bring the turn to a close for Tilly Phillips, and we'll move on now to Nika Shizuka. She is in Novosibirsk. Incidentally, there is no intel overload. We have a total of 3 intel tokens on the board. All right, Nika is in Novosibirsk. We have an intel token next door in Krasnoyarsk. We'll have her roll for movement. Her roll is a 2. That'll close the airport if there was one in Novosibirsk. There isn't. We'll have her move into Krasnoyarsk, and we're going to convert that intel token into a location token. So we're going to grab a location token, place that in a random city. Okay, got a location token here out of the bag, and we'll see where it goes. And it is going into Abache in Africa. Okay. So we'll place that token in Abache. And if we're able to travel to that location and defeat the big bad that is there, that will give us our 4th location intelligence, and we will have won the first part of the game. In a normal game, that would be sufficient to win the game based upon the intel. Right now, the Dr. Lobo has not advanced, which is amazing. So that means we would automatically win. But we're using the advanced rules, so we're going to have to actually infiltrate his lair to win. For right now, we have to take a encounter at Krasnoyarsk, and this is going to be with intel. So this is an Asia encounter. Shuffle that deck up and see what the encounter card is. And we've got a con job. Response group is B. Okay, a con job. And let's see what we want to do. I think we'll choose Rely on Instinct, number 3. So we've got 43.3, and our fate card with intel is 0.5. 43.3.5. Okay, and that encounter reads, carry your bags, asks the urchin as you get out of the taxi at your hotel. You're not going to fall for that. The kid looks like a swindler. Shine your shoes, deliver messages for you, show you around the city, he continues. You wave the dirty child away and he cries, Mr. Chin will beat me if I don't make some money. He sobs. Your heart softens at the sniveling wretch. You reach for your wallet. Something isn't right here, though. Test Spycraft -2 or hand-to-hand, requiring 2 successes. Pass with detection. Well, we don't have detection. Our Spycraft is at 2, and our hand-to-hand is at 1. So those are our choices. If we take hand-to-hand, we've got to have 2 successes, so I don't think that's a good one. Spycraft is 2, and it's a -2. So right now we are at just our gray die for this test. So I think our best bet is to use a resolve token. So the resolve token will raise our Spycraft by 1, giving us a Spycraft of 3. -2 is 1, so we get 1 draw. All right, here is the dice, and it is a green one. Okay, green is 50-50. I'll make the roll and see what happens. Now we do have the watch, and I think I'll use that this time, and we'll take a look at the villain card first. Our villain card is a strength of 2, and the end of turn event would place intel in Africa and remove intel in Africa and place it in Georgetown, closing Panama City. So this would be a 2. Well, I think we will put that in the back of the deck and we'll have a new card. So we'll see what happens. Okay, here's our roll for success testing Spycraft. And we've passed. We've got 2 successes. That is awesome. We'll read the pass condition. And it says, you spin round to find that the kid is distracting you from the man about to stick a knife in your back. You take him down and the kid runs off. The guy you have in custody clearly isn't the brains of the operation, but he gives you enough for you to earn the gratitude of the local police. We're going to gain Trusted Agent. So we gain the Trusted Agent status. You are well trusted by your superiors. In all encounters that involve the director sending you a message or speaking directly with you, you may re-roll a single die if you fail the encounter. Interpret ambiguities in your favor. And then we can also discard it to pass a failed persuasion test. Okay. And now we'll draw our end of turn event. And that says, Peru's new president replaces entire cabinet with SMERSH appointees. Remove intel from South America and add intel into New York and Agadez. Close the airport in London. Okay. So we're going to remove the intel that was in La Paz, and we'll be adding intel into New York and into Agadez. And we'll add intel into Agadez. Let's get an intel count now. We've got one in New York, one in Agadez, and one in Macau. So that's it, 3 of them. All right. And now it's Tilly's turn. Tilly Phillips in Moscow. Now she has 2 injuries, and we're getting very close to the end of the game, so I'm thinking we're going to take a rest action here. And that says, if and only if a player has 2 or more injury tokens on their character card, they may take a rest action to heal 2 injuries. They skip their encounter phase and go directly to step 3, villain phase. If playing solo, the player must also roll the blue die. If you fail the roll, you must draw a villain card and advance Dr. Lobo's track by the number of steps shown. All right. All right, so Tilly can heal the 2 injuries that she has by resting. Now, technically, we are playing a solo game, but we're playing with 2 players. It's not a solo player. So we don't have to go through that blue die roll, but we will have to go to the villain phase. And we're supposed to conduct that as it was a end of turn event. And it says, ex-KGB seek UN protection. Remove intel in Asia and add intel in Paris and Ulan-Ude. Airport close in Osrano. Okay. Okay, we're going to remove intel in Asia. So that means the Macau intel is gone. And we'll be adding intel into Paris and in Ulan-Ude, which is pretty close to where we are. In fact, it's right next door to Nika. That goes into Mongolia. Okay, and then we're going to be closing an airport in Osrano. That's in Argentina. Okay. That'll bring Agent Tilly's turn to a close. And now, Nika Shizuka, she's currently in Krasnoyarsk. We could have her use a UN transport to get to Abache and attempt that location encounter. And I think we will do that. Incidentally, our intel intelligence level is 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're good with that. We'll move on to Nika's turn. And I think we're going to do that. We'll have her make the roll for movement. We have to do that no matter what. She rolls a 2 with an airport closure. We can't close Moscow. But I think she's going to take the UN transport. And she's going to fly to Abache. And we're going to take a look at that location token. All right, the location token is Mr. Big. Now, Mr. Big is at level 2 right now. But first, we have to see if the shadow is going to interfere with us. So we'll have to make a die roll. On a 1 or 2, we'll be encountering the shadow instead of the henchman. And here's the roll. Results of 3, so we're going to be encountering Mr. Big. All right, if we can pass this against Mr. Big, we're going to have an intelligence, location intelligence of 4, and that will be enough to win the base game. For this level 2 test, it's test athletics -1 to jump aside of Mr. Big's baseball bat. All right. We have a athletics level of 2. So 2 minus 1 is 1. So we're going to gain our gray die and a draw from the bag. Okay, we'll pull our draw from the bag. And we've got the green die. That's a 50-50. That's pretty good. So I think with that, combined with our ability to reroll using resolve, I think we will go with this. Okay, here's the roll. And we've currently got an injury right now. So we're going to spend a resolve by Nika, moving her down to 2, and we're going to re-roll that injury. See if we can get a success here. And we've got the success. It's a gun. All right, so Mr. Big moves up to level 3, and we've found the location of Dr. Lobo's lair. Our location intelligence goes up to 4, and then we would consult Dr. Lobo's track. Well, he's still on the start space, so we don't need anything in the intel pool for us to win. It's an automatic win of the base game. But now we're going to use the advanced rules to see if we can infiltrate his base and win a total victory. And incidentally, let's reveal the intel that we did find. We've got a double agent, tech, weapon, and that is I gotta take a closer look at that. Atomic, and an atomic, okay. Incidentally, this was one of the only complaints on this game, was that the end of the game was somewhat anticlimactic, in that if you, like in this case, we were still had him on the start space. He never moved up, which was amazing. But they invented this for this Showdown booklet, and it gives you a new endgame. And it says it consists of 2 phases, entering the base and defeating Dr. Lobo. The setup: if there are fewer than 5 players, add 1 spare character to the mat to your group for each player less than 5. So in this case, we're going to be getting 3 random UN characters. They represent UN agents who enter play during the endgame. Set up their spare character mats with 1 resolve each, and their starting values for base skills. Do not reset injuries or resolve for human control characters. Running these spare characters in the endgame is easy, so don't worry if you have a small number of players. All right, let's get our random UN characters. All right, our random UN characters are going to be Callie Dagger, Sheena Mars, and Dust Flanders. All right, our next step is to enter the base. The current player, the player whose turn it would be just when the main game ended, chooses one of their basic skills and one of their advanced skills. And we're going to cross-reference that using entering the base table location. If a player has no advanced skills, they will use no advanced skill. Non-human controlled characters do not receive an entering the base encounter. They will come into play during defeating Dr. Lobo phase. No 2 players may choose the exact same combination, thus receiving the same encounter. We'll look that up based on the paragraph entering the base on page 55 and treat it in all other aspects as a standard encounter. Players can use resolve, status, and special abilities. A pass means the agent has successfully entered the base. A fail means that the agent has entered the base, but at some cost: injury, loss of resolve, or advancing Dr. Lobo's pawn. All right, the next player would be Tilly Phillips, and she's going to have to use one of her advanced abilities, her advanced skill, and she'll have to select one of her basic skills. And I think she's going to use spycraft and seduction. So we'll make the intersection there, seduction and spycraft, that is C5. Nika Shizuka is going to use her disguise ability, and she'll use deception. So we'll intersect disguise with deception, and that is I2. All right, so now we are going to attempt to enter the base. The auxiliary agents won't have to worry about that, but we're going to have to try to get Tilly into the base. And we read the encounter for spycraft and seduction. You've been watching the guards for a while now, from your position on a hill looking down on Dr. Lobo's base. One keeps his keycard close to his chest, but the other slips it into his back pocket. That won't be difficult at all. As the guard comes off of duty, you meet him and invite him out for a drink. Luckily, you're his type, and he agrees to go with you to a nearby bar. A few drinks later, and you're in each other's arms, your hand slipping slowly down toward the pocket where the all-important keycard is kept. We have to test spycraft -1. Fortunately, Tilly has a spycraft of 3. All right, so Tilly is going to get her standard gray die, and we'll get to pick up to 3 dice. Okay, here's the first one. That's a red. Okay, that's pretty good. I think we are going to take a second pick. And we've got a green. We're going to go with that. We will go with this, and we'll roll these one at a time. See how we do. We've got the success right there. And we've done it with the gray die of all places. So we've got the success. I'm going to zoom that out a bit so you can see the dice, and we'll read the pass condition now. It says the guard doesn't feel a thing as you slip the card out of his pocket, or rather, he feels something in the area of his left buttock, but isn't going to complain under the circumstances. Later that night, you infiltrate Dr. Lobo's base with consummate ease. All right, so Tilly has entered the base. Now we'll see what is going to happen to Nika. Nika has selected Deception and Disguise. That says, "Good morning, madam," you say when the guard opens the door. "I'm from the electricity company, and I'm here to investigate some very strange fluctuations we've been reading. Are you the owner or proprietor of this establishment?" She thinks for a moment, then hazards, "No." Clearly not one of Dr. Lobo's finest. "No, I see," you say, making a mark on your clipboard. "And would it be possible for me to see the owner or proprietor?" "No? No, I see." "Then could I come in and take some readings?" you ask, brandishing a gadget in the guard's face. She hesitates, so you take the opportunity to wave your electricity company ID as well. Okay, we're going to have to test Deception -1. All right, Nika's Deception is 2. So that's going to give us a total of 1 extra die for this test. Okay, here's our draw. And this time we've got the red die. Okay, that's pretty good. So we'll roll those and see what happens. And we've got the success. We have the red die. Outstanding. And that reads, "Okay," she says. And in a flash, you are inside, sticking your gadget into a power outlet. There is a hum and a smell of ozone, and the guard lies at your feet, smoke coming from her ears, as it does from the security cameras on the wall. Power fluctuations are just the start. All right, so we have both successfully infiltrated Dr. Lobo's base. And now we move on to defeating Dr. Lobo. It says set up the spare character mats you set aside earlier with 1 resolve each. There will be a total of 5 agents available during the phase unless a character was knocked out during entering the base. Resolve only important characteristics during the Defeat Dr. Lobo phase. Remember this while you play the main game and have your entering the base encounter. Save as much resolve as possible. Step 2 says remove all injury tokens gained during the main game and entering the base phases. Then place 3 injury tokens on Dr. Lobo's mat and 5 injury tokens in a pool in front of the players. Okay. All right, we've got 3 injury tokens for Dr. Lobo and 5 in a pool for us. Our next step is to select a UN agent to roll off against Dr. Lobo first. This can be a player-controlled agent or a spare agent. The chosen agent pulls one die from the bag and rolls it together with the yellow die, the gray die with yellow icons. The agent can spend their remaining resolve in any way they like at any time during their rolls, either to draw additional dice from the bag or to re-roll any die. And it says here, ignore Rocco's special resolve powers ability. You can even roll the dice, then spend resolve to draw another die from the bag. Continue rolling, re-rolling, and drawing dice from the bag until you have no more resolve to spend or you want to stop. It says resolve a final dice rolls as follows in the exact order below. Count the number of the triad symbols, the triangular fail symbols, and advance Dr. Lobo that many spaces on the track. If Lobo reaches 9, the players have immediately failed to defeat him and have lost the endgame. If the yellow-gray die shows injury, remove an injury token from Dr. Lobo's mat. If the yellow die shows a heal, return an injury token to Dr. Lobo's mat. He can never have more than 3. If all injury tokens have been removed from the mat, Dr. Lobo has been defeated and the players have won. Count the number of gun symbols and advance the player's token that many spaces along Dr. Lobo's track. If the player reaches 9 before Dr. Lobo, they have defeated him and won the endgame. Finally, remove 1 injury token from the player's pool for each injury icon shown on a white die, meaning 1 pulled from the bag. Ignore injuries on the yellow icon die. If all injury tokens have been removed from the player's pool, Dr. Lobo has defeated them and the players have lost. After all 5 characters have rolled and no side has reached 9, the side with the highest on the track is the winner. If there's a tie, you will continue for another round until all the characters participating again. But if you have to go to another round like this, it is likely that no player will have the resolve left. Dr. Lobo will have clear advantage. All right. So we're going to place all of these tokens in the entering the base area, which is our space 0. And then we're going to start with announcing one of our characters to attempt the roll. Now, the most intel that we have for any of our characters right now is Tilly Phillips. She has 4. Nika has 2, and then all of the other agents have 1. So I'm going to start with Tilly Phillips. And we're going to start with our gray die, and we're going to get a pull from the bag. That is the automatic procedure. And we've drawn the green die. Okay. So we're going to roll those dice, and then the agent can spend any remaining resolve in any way they choose. So let's make the roll. And we have an injury, and we have a gun. That injury token will remove 1 injury from Dr. Lobo. The gray die doesn't apply to us, only to him. And then we've got a gun, so that allows us to advance on the track the number of spaces of the guns shown. So we're going to advance Tilly's marker up 1 space. So that's where we're at right now. All right, we're going to move on to another character, and we are going to use Nika. So she's going to get her gray die, and we'll get a draw from the bag to start. And she draws the brown die. That's not too good. So I think we will roll those and see what happens. And we've got 2 of the Illuminati symbols, which is going to be moving Dr. Lobo up the track. So she's going to be spending 1 of her resolve tokens to re-roll the Illuminati symbols. And we'll do that on the, I think on the gray die. And she's still got an Illuminati symbol. She'll spend another resolve point, and I think she's going to add a die roll. Add another die, and this time she has a red one. Okay, so we'll roll that. And she's got one gun. All right, so let's do this. Dr. Lobo is going to, she has no resolve left. So that's going to be it for her. Dr. Lobo is going to move up 2. Nika would move up 1 space. Okay, we'll move on now to Dust Flanders, and he's going to attempt to work on Dr. Lobo. I think I mishandled that with Nika. I probably should have used it to draw an extra die the last time instead of trying to re-roll that. Okay, here is his dice that he gets. It's a black one. So we'll roll that for the time being and see what happens. And we've got an Injury 2 and an Illuminati. Well, he's going to spend his resolve to re-roll the Illuminati symbol. No, we'll re-roll the black. And we've got another Illuminati symbol. He can't re-roll that, so Dr. Lobo will move up 2 more. He's at 4. All right, we'll move on now to Sheena Mars. Sheena Mars is going to get the gray die and 1 draw from the bag to start. She has 1 resolve. And she gets a blue die, so we'll roll those. And she's got 2 Illuminati symbols. She's going to spend her resolve to re-roll the blue die. And she's got another Illuminati. There's nothing we can do to resolve that, so 2 more moves for Dr. Lobo. He's up to 6. Oh boy. Okay. And I guess we will use Agent Fox again. Agent Fox still has 4 resolve. So we'll have her draw a die. And she gets the green. And I think she's going to add in 2 more dice right away. So we'll use 2 more, moving her down to 2, and we'll make 2 more draws. We've got a brown and a blue. Okay, we're going to roll those and see what happens. I'm hoping that we can get some good results here. A gun. Illuminati. Illuminati. And a gun. So we've got 2 guns and 2 Illuminati. She's going to spend her 1 of her 2 to re-roll the blue Illuminati. She's still got that. She'll use her last one to roll this one again. And she's got 3 successes, so that's going to move her up the track 3. 1, 2, 3. Lobo will move up 1. He's up to 7. All right. Well, unfortunately, I have no resolve left. So I guess we will just try to push along. My best chance would be to try to use Tilly. She's going to gain a gray and 1 draw from the bag, and that's all she's going to get. And she draws a black, so we'll roll those. We won't be able to re-roll these, though, unfortunately. And we've got a heal and a gun, so that'll move her up 1, and we'll see what the heal does. And we're supposed to return a token to Dr. Lobo. So he's back up to 3. All right. Well, I think she'll try it again, and we'll have her roll 1 more time using the gray and a separate roll with the dice. She's got a brown. That's not going to be good. Okay, here's the roll. 2 Illuminati symbols will move Dr. Lobo up to 9, and he ends up winning the advanced part of the game. So we've defeated him, but he has escaped somewhere in the world. So it's kind of a pseudo victory for us. So that'll bring our playthrough of Agents of SMERSH to a close, and I hope you enjoyed this new endgame procedure that was offered in the Showdown book. It definitely makes the game more exciting than just revealing the tokens at the end of the, like in this case, Dr. Lobo didn't even move from his start space, so we won automatically by just getting that 4th point of intelligence. So this definitely makes the game much more exciting. So I hope you enjoyed this playthrough, and I look forward to seeing you again on the channel in the future. In the meantime, this is Keith from the Solo Gamers Club signing off and wishing everyone a pleasant evening. Good night.